Chapter 15, Avengers. Arjun was an accomplished archer and a formidable warrior. Naturally, he had many enemies even other than the Kaurav brothers and Karna, jealous of his achievements. One such enemy was the leader of a tribe of snake charmers, a person known to all by the alias of Takshak. These tribesmen extracted snake poison and venom from other creatures or plants, using and selling them for warfare. Alongside them, another group of forgers calling themselves the Fire built tough weapons and accessories from metals and alloys, using special forges for similar purposes. The Fire believed that the future of warfare was advanced weapons and tougher alloys, whereas Takshak's people believed that chemical warfare was the real future. There had been an age-long enmity between these two groups owing to ideology and competition for markets. So much so that each group would use their skills to harm the other. The Fire would use their weapons on the snake charmers, while they would in return try to poison the members of the Fire. The Takshak's people had built secret bases inside a dense forest called the Khandav, and operating from there, they raided nearby installations of the Fire and poisoned the forgers, trying to cripple their endeavors. It was impossible to find them inside that maze of a forest and return safely. So the Fire sought help of their ally Krishna and Arjun, who was then on his self-imposed exile. They asked the two to deal with the snake charmers, and in exchange offered several gifts like the discus, the Gandiv bow, the chariot, all excellent products of their forges. The two complied, and doing their duty as protectors of the society, Arjun set the whole forest on fire. Any of the snake charmers who escaped that fire they ambushed and killed. Takshak was not in the forest, but his whole family and tribe died in that fire. He had been looking forward to revenge on Arjun for several years, and finally, when the war broke out between the Kaurav and Pandavs, he got his wish. Remembering that a foe's foe is a friend, he had come to Karna and offered his most dangerous poison, the Ashwasna. Amidst the Kuru Field, 17th day of battle. The army on both sides was too small to make any impenetrable formation now, but still arrays were formed on both sides. On the Kaurav side, Kripa and Kritavarma were on the right wing, while Shakuni and the Samsaptaks made up the left wing. Karna headed the array, surrounded by his remaining sons, followed by Dushasan on an elephant and his brothers, including Duryodhan. The rear was protected by Ashwatthama. "Arjun will die today at my hands," Karna said, staring at his arrayed enemy, at which his charioteer, King Shalya, sniggered and replied, "I don't think so. If Arjun is a swan, you are a crow. You will never be his equal. Forget about being better." At Yudhishthir's instructions, the Pandav array was formed such that while converging, Arjun faced Karna, Bhim faced Duryodhan, Nakul went for Karna's son Vrishsan, Sahadev towards Shakuni, Yudhishthir to Kripa and Satyaki to Kritavarma. And then the battle began. Arrows were exchanged, blocked, and warriors were felled down as the weapons sounded. The Samsaptaks came for Arjun once more and engaged him. And he started slaughtering them using the special weapons he had, like arrows laden with hallucinogen, arrows exploding in air and raining shrapnel on the enemy, everything that Drona has taught and given him. Karna and his sons went towards the Panchal forces headed by Drishtadyumna, and cutting through them, he killed warriors, left and right, using his training and his special arrows, alongside those left behind for him by the Kuru grandsire. To stop him, the four Pandavs converged on him and his sons, and they shot at each other's, aiming for their chariots and their bows. Dushasan, also on his elephant, plunged into their midst to protect his generalissimo. Karna and his sons shot Indian Greek fire arrows at the Pandavs and their troops and baffled them. Duryodhan went for Yudhishthir, and Bhim intercepted the eldest Kaurav for the protection of his elder brother. The other warriors, like Drishtadyumna, Nakul and Sahadev, Karna and his fellow archers checked with their incessant arrow before Karna found the chance to go for the eldest Pandav himself. The foot soldiers around Yudhishthir fled as soon as Karna opened fire on them. Then his arrows came for Yudhishthir, who tried to block using his shield but did not succeed with all. Bleeding from his arrow wounds, Yudhishthir shot back at Karna. In reply, crescent-headed arrows of Karna left gashes on Yudhishthir's arms and legs, and an arrow of the toughest alloy broke through his armor and hit his chest. Though it did not hit his heart, almost swooning away at the strike and holding onto the shaft sticking out of his breast, Yudhishthir collapsed on his chariot, with blood flowing down his armor. Not forgetting his promise to Kunti, Karna did not make his final kill strike. Get me out of here. Yudhishthir somehow managed to tell his charioteer, and he was carried away from there, flanked by Nakul and Sahadev. The Kaurav army, led by Karna, tried to follow their enemy king for capturing him, but the remaining Pandav troops arrested them. Meanwhile, Arjun was fighting with Ashwatthama, and the arrows of the latter pierced even Krishna while they fought. They used diverse kinds of arrows, some on fire, some exploding in air, while others simple and sharp. Then Arjun managed to kill off Ashwatthama's horses, and having rendered chariotless, Ashwatthama alighted from his vehicle and retreated to safety. Scanning around and seeing Bhim using his bow from atop his chariot, Arjun asked him, "Where is brother Yudhishthir? It is imperative that he be protected all times." Karna attacked and injured him. Bhim replied, "He has retreated to camp, but I don't know what his condition is. I fear for his life." "Take care of the enemies for me," Arjun said. "I must go and see if he is okay." As Arjun was driven away from there, Bhim's chariot proceeded to where the remaining sons of Dhritarashtra were. Meanwhile, Satyaki and Shikundi engaged with Karna's sons, trying to protect whom, Karna was engaged with them. Satyaki's arrows found their gaps and killed Prasen, Karna's son, before the very eyes of his father. Fuming with rage and broken from grief, Karna shot arrows incessantly at his foes, screaming, and he forgot everything about his duties and who to protect. Bhim advanced against the elephant carrying the second Kaurav brother. Dushasan and memories flooded back to him as he blocked his foe's arrows, one of which broke Bhim's bow. This debauched cousin of his had dragged Draupadi by the hair during her painful periods and disrobed her before the eyes of the entire assembly. Bhim remembered how his wife had helplessly pleaded with everyone, and there was nothing he could do to stop it then. If he could not protect her wife's honor, he would damn well make sure to avenge her on the Kuru Field, and now. "I will kill you here," Bhim shouted out to Dushasan and all within earshot. "Let's see who stops me today." With a dismissive snigger, confident of his high vantage point, Dushasan took up a spear, while Bhim took up his mace. Twisting his body with all his strength, Bhim hurled the mace high at his enemy at the same moment that the spear was hurled from that side. Deflecting the spear from its way and remaining almost unaffected, the mace struck Dushasan on his chest and threw him behind. With a loud thud and the wind knocked out of him, Dushasan landed on the blood mud, groaning and writhing. Bhim unsheathed his sword now and climbed down from his chariot going for the fallen enemy. "No," Duryodhan shouted, as he saw this, and also realized that both he and his friend Karna were too far away to stop Bhim in time. Karna tried to shoot his arrows at Bhim, but Satyaki and Shikundi blocked him. Duryodhan's chariot was also slowed down by the Pandav cavalry, and he realized that their situation was the same as when the Pandavs were blocked by Jaydrath and his army, while Abhimanyu was slaughtered. What happened next, the eldest Kaurav and the generalissimo could only witness as a spectator. Planting one foot on Dushasan's throat and almost strangling him, Bhim cut off the strings of the Kaurav's armor, exposed his bare chest and plunged the sword there. As the blood came out and Dushasan was still alive and begging for mercy, Bhim cupped the red fluid up and drank, saying, "Oh, how sweet like nectar this blood is. I have fulfilled my vow, Draupadi is avenged." Then he, with lips red like a vampire, pulled out the sword and in one swift stroke, decapitated Dushasan. Arjun and Krishna entered Yudhishthir's tent and found the eldest Pandav in bed, being tended to with herbal pastes by the healers. Seeing the two enter, Yudhishthir rose, wincing, and dismissed the healers. "Are you all right, brother?" Arjun asked, to which Yudhishthir replied with a sigh, "I'll live. You tell me, did you kill him?" "Kill who?" "The one who reduced me to this plight and shamed me in battle before my army." Yudhishthir blurted out, "Karna." "I was engaged with the Samsaptak's brother," Arjun explained. "I didn't get the chance to fight him. We feared for your life, so I came immediately. If you are so afraid to face Karna, you should have told me before. Yudhishthir said tauntingly while slowly climbing down from bed. I would have made other arrangements then. What are you saying? Arjun asked, surprised at the aggression of his brother. Yudhishthir responded with frustration. He almost killed me today and you weren't there. If you cannot stop him, Arjun, then give away your Gandiv to someone better who can. It's useless with you. You dare insult my bow, Arjun said, angered at the words, and he unsheathed his sword, surprising both Krishna and Yudhishthir. Sitting here safely, you judge me. It is your addiction to gambling which lost us everything, and now we have to fight this war. Do not provoke my wrath, brother. Put down your sword, Arjun, Krishna said calmly. There's no one here that you need to use that against, and you should be ashamed to have spoken that way to your elder brother. Sighing as he heard the words, Yudhishthir had collapsed to his bed again, and Arjun now dropped his weapon and fell to his knees, hanging his head. Forgive me, brother, Arjun said in trembling voice without looking up. I lose all sense if someone insults my Gandiv, my only true companion in good and bad days. What you say isn't untrue, Yudhishthir said morosely, making Arjun weep as he continued. Bound by pride and addiction, I had given up everything. But now I fight with all my heart to get it back, not just for me but for all of you, for our wife. But I cannot do this alone, Arjun. Humbled by that evil Karna, I too lost my senses and spoke wrongly to you. Krishna now spoke. If coming so close to the end, the Pandavas fight and kill each other, who will be benefited, Arjun? Redirect your weapon and hatred to the people responsible. Confront Karna and do your duty. Rise, brother, Yudhishthir said. Forgiving each other, let us win this together. Wiping his eyes, Arjun rose and said, clenching his jaws, I take your leave, brother. The battlefield awaits me for avenging all our humiliations. 10 Kaurav brothers, angered and grieving at the inhuman slaughter of their brother Dushasan, surround Bhim on all sides and started afflicting him with arrows. With bleeding arrow wounds and devoid of a bow, Bhim held up his shield and circled within his chariot, trying his best to keep himself protected. Then 10 crescent-headed arrows came whizzing in and beheaded the 10 Kauravs in matter of less than a minute. Arjun, driven by Krishna, had returned to the battlefield, energized and looking as merciless as Bhim had while fulfilling his vow. The formidable Bhim, having been rescued, and Arjun ready with his arrows at the head of the Pandav troops, made the small remnant of the Kaurav army tremble with fear. Things are going out of your hand, Generalissimo, Shalya spoke from his charioteer's position to Karna. Your prince is slayed and your army is afraid. Even your son is stupefied in spite of being protected by his father. Hearing this, Vrishsan was angered and without waiting, urged his charioteer forward towards the Pandav forces. He engaged with Bhim and Nakul, and then with the 5 sons of Draupadi, afflicting each with his arrows, showing off everything he has learnt from his father. Then Arjun approached the eldest son of Karna and shot arrows at him, which was blocked and dodged. Vrishsan in answer sped his arrows towards Arjun and pierced him in the exposed armpit. Breaking off the shafts, an enraged Arjun used crescent-headed arrows to slice off the arms and the head of Vrishsan before Karna could come to his son's aid. As vowed, Arjun slayed Karna's son before his very eyes, avenging Abhimanyu's death. Karna yelled like a maddened tiger, and with hot tears flowing from his wrathful eyes, his chariot advanced towards Arjun's. The 2 flags depicting Elephantrope and the other, a monkey, drew closer, as arrows were exchanged between them and blocked on shields. The armies were depleted and tired, and so they disengaged, to stand down and watch the one-on-one combat between the 2 great archers, while conches were blown from both sides to cheer them on. With tear-filled eyes, Karna used Indian Greek fire arrows, but they had little effect as they pierced Arjun's special chariot made by the fire forgers. In answer, Arjun sped all kinds of arrows that he had left with him at the enemy, attempting to kill or at least injure him. The 2 bows twanged on, as the shafts whistled and whizzed through the air, while they were blocked by shields, or the moving chariots dodged them. Hold your ground as long as you can, Karna, Shalya said, for soon you will die at the hands of the superior Arjun. "And what will you do after that?" Karna asked, while blocking some arrows, at which Shalya replied, "Then I will enter the battle as a warrior and release myself from your friend's debt, killing Arjun, along with this brothers." Both Karna and Arjun had waited their entire lives for this encounter, for this once-and-for-all chance to prove who was superior. Wind blew over the field, and the smoke from the burning Indian-Greek fires around swayed this way and that, as the weapons were released and they clashed, while the two chariots encircled each other. Finding gaps, Karna's arrow hit Arjun's armor, sticking to the coat of mail, and also hit Krishna and his shield. Breaking off the shaft sticking out of his flesh and mail, Krishna looked up and found Karna taking up an arrow, whose head was shining with something slimy and violet. "Careful, Arjun," Krishna said, and drove the chariot faster, as the incoming arrow, coated with ashwasna, whizzed past Arjun safely. Noticing Karna taking up another such arrow, Krishna desperately looked around the field while urging the steeds on. This arrow, Arjun blocked by his shield, and the broken shaft fell to the ground harmlessly. Coming to a point, Krishna halted the chariot and Arjun protested, "Move, Madhav, or else we are easy targets." Karna knew that he must act wisely now, since this was his last poisoned arrow. Keeping it handy, Karna sped a fire arrow at Arjun, which he foolishly tried to block with his shield, thinking it to be a poisoned one. With a blast, Arjun was thrown to the edge of his vehicle, while his shield, up in flames, flew away through the air. With Arjun completely exposed and the chariot not moving, Karna took easy aim at his enemy's neck, a double assurance to death. As soon as the arrow was released, Krishna urged the steeds slightly forward, and the wheels of Arjun's chariot landed into a furrow on the bloody ground, near which Krishna had purposely stopped them. The whole vehicle descended downwards, along with Arjun, but apparently not enough, as the arrow hit the big gem on Arjun's diadem and shattered it while only grazing his hair. The poisoned tip harmlessly sailed past. The jewelry fell to the chariot floor in 3 pieces, while Karna grunted loudly in frustration, banging his fist against his chariot. Immediately, Krishna threw his shield to Arjun for protection, jumped down from the chariot and pushed to roll the wheels out of the furrow while he whistled the 4 trained steeds to pull and aid him. "Did the tip scratch you?" Krishna asked, pulling the wheel out, to which Arjun replied, wiping his now unadorned head and checking for blood, "I don't know." Driving ahead the now free chariot, Krishna said, "Trust me, I know that poison. You would have known by now if it hit you." "There goes your cherished weapon," Shalya taunted Karna again. "I told you. The great Arjun, that too protected by the godly Krishna, cannot be defeated by a lowly sinner like you." "I have other weapons," Karna said, gritting his teeth and taking up another arrow, while Arjun re-aimed his Gandiv at the enemy.
To be continued. Stay tuned for the next chapter,